this is Kristen, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Connect with KB. So great to have you tune in again as we talk about business, education, leadership, and all the wonderful things that connect us to each other. My guest today recently became the Vice President and Chief Public Affairs Officer for Grand Valley State University, where she brings a wealth of talent and experience to advance the interest of the university and its student population. I want to welcome to the podcast Stacie Behler. Stacie, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. I want to start with you like I do with all of my guests, and I want to hear the Stacie Behler story.
Well, the story is kind of complicated after this long of a life, but I grew up in the Detroit area and moved over to Grand Rapids straight out of law school. Been here since the mid-'90s. I'm a first-generation college student and a passionate community advocate, and I'm super excited after almost 30 years in Grand Rapids to be part of what is one of the most important institutions in our community, in our state, here at Grand Valley State University. So I'm a recovering lawyer, spent 6 or 7 years in private practice and joined the wonderful legal team over at Meyer. Spent 20 years in various roles there and decided that the next step for me would be to be giving back into the community that I care so much about. And for students, that first generation college experience that I had was so powerful, and it's just really incredible to get to be at this place in my career, but at a really remarkable place where we can make a real impact on students and the community.
For sure. And, Grand Valley is such a beautiful campus. It has so much to offer students, one of Michigan's hidden gems in so many ways. Talk about your role at GVSU and what you're up to now.
Yeah, so I'm about 105 days on the job. So right now I'm doing a lot of learning, listening, and celebrating the amazing work that's been happening at Grand Valley since the 60s, when it was really invented by the community. My role is to be kind of the public spokesperson, the storyteller, the advocate on behalf of our students, faculty, staff, and our community here at Grand Valley. It's a great story to tell, as you said, and the fact that it's a little bit of a hidden gem, we need to shout from the rooftop how amazing this place is for our community, the kind of outcomes our students have, that more than 80% of Grand Valley grads stay here in Michigan and contribute to our businesses and our communities. So I get to do that fantastic work. And first 100 days in, I'm running, and it's fast-paced, and it's a place of innovation, but I'm having a blast.
Well, I'm so glad. And you follow in the footsteps of Matt McLogan, who was at Grand Valley for years and years and really became a staple here in the Lansing area too, advocating for Grand Valley. And in so many ways had multiple hats that he wore there. And I suspect that you do too. And there's probably a very big focus, not only on what you're doing in the here and now, but what does the future look like? And I know that you've been very involved in the community. So is part of your work building public and private partnerships?
Absolutely. West Michigan is known for its commitment to bringing all the sectors to the table. That public-private partnership sort of is in the DNA, and it's no different at Grand Valley. And it started when this institution started. A business community came together, the community came together and said, what do we need for the future of West Michigan? And Grand Valley was created. So, yeah, it's in the DNA. It's part of the secret sauce of West Michigan, and Grand Valley embraces it and will always embrace it. We have to, especially in an environment where things are changing so quickly. We have to be able to sit at the table with private industry, with the community to build for the future.
Well, there's so much to offer there. And, the support that you've received, not only on the Allendale campus, and I'll tell you, and we talked about this offline, and anybody who knows me knows this, that both of my kids went to Grand Valley. They had a great experience. I couldn't believe from the time that my son started to when my daughter came 4 years later, the amount of growth and the opportunity for being innovative and trying new things, and not only on the Allendale campus, but the beauty of downtown Grand Rapids and, all of the connections from the community. There just seems to be so much support and movement in the positive forward direction.
Yeah, one thing so I've been in Grand Rapids, like I said, for almost 30 years, and it always struck me how everybody from West Michigan is a champion for Grand Valley, whether they were an alum, whether their kids attended. Everybody loved this institution, and that again is just part of its ongoing success. So, it is an institution that was developed and is curated and is supported by the entire community. And, it's an interesting physical plant issue, right? The main campus is in Allendale, and then you've got this beautiful, fairly new campus here right in downtown Grand Rapids with an extension on the Michigan Medical Mile, where we have several new buildings committed to healthcare careers. And the Grand Valley commitment to community, extends not just from Allendale to Grand Rapids, but beyond. And it's an exciting time to be here because while higher ed is, has to evolve and change, we have a nimbleness, we have a commitment to innovation, and a leader, quite frankly, who is a very innovative, big thinker, and she's moving us into the future. So, yeah, we have beautiful campus space. I'm sitting here in the downtown campus. Love the Allendale campus. Excited to be part of the health campus as it grows as well. But there's a lot to do. As you know, Grand Rapids is constantly changing. We have a lot of development going on downtown. We've got a new amphitheater coming. Grand Action 2.0 is really committed to activating the river, which runs right along our downtown Grand Rapids campus. So it's a super exciting time to be, a lead partner in what's happening in Grand Rapids, too.
Well, and when you say that about 80% staying in the state of Michigan, and really so many people that are local. I talk to people all the time that say to me that they went to Grand Valley and they still live in Grand Rapids and work in Grand Rapids and want to raise their families in Grand Rapids. How has the leadership changed a little bit? I know that you weren't there when Tom Haas was there, but he had a great presidency. You've got President Mantella now. Their leadership a little bit different, but everybody seems to be buying in and rowing in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's remarkable about our past presidents is when we have something extraordinary happen at Grand Valley, they're all here to support President Mantella. They show up, President Haas and his wife, Marcia, Mark and Elizabeth Murray, who, Mark was also the president here, and obviously President Lubbers. Everybody is still part of the Grand Valley family because they understand its importance. And their legacies, each one of them was committed to community, to growing and building and strengthening Grand Valley and the Grand Rapids community. So, yeah, it's actually pretty remarkable when you stop and think about the legacy and the leadership of Grand Valley State University.
Well, and I think that it's a real lesson, I think, for maybe other universities in the state of Michigan to kind of watch that. And, there is a little bit of a Grand Valley difference. I do see that Grand Valley was on the 2022 list of best colleges in America by money. What do you identify as that difference?
The list is long, quite frankly. But, I think some of the key things are value, right? Going to college is not an inexpensive endeavor, right? There's a commitment by a family, by a student, by its community, by our state, by our taxpayers. But when you really peel back what you're getting for your investment in your education from Grand Valley, I think you'll see we have a fantastic story to tell. We are one of the lowest priced tuitions. Our tuition has been stable over many years. And again, more than 80% of our students stay here in Michigan, which is contributing to the economy, is contributing to the overall, growth and activation of our community. And, 96% of our students receive some financial aid from our institution. We know it's hard to get here. We have a lot of first-generation students. We're meeting them where they're at. We're making sure that they have a pathway to Grand Valley. And 85% of our graduates are employed immediately after they graduate. So, I mean, the story, the Grand Valley secret sauce is really, it's a value proposition. And your business listeners will understand that, right? You've got to put a product out there that really, has a great return.
Well, and I'll tell you that I see, too, that there is strong female leadership at Grand Valley, including yourself, President Mantella, Sue Jandernoa, your chair, Beth Emmett, good friend of mine, who's your vice chair of the board. What is it about this leadership that you're seeing that is really having such an impact? And that's, I know that we've got a lot of guys involved too, so I appreciate that. But the leadership right now seems to really be very powerful.
It is a powerful team, made up of diverse voices and lived experience. And I think that richness is what makes Grand Valley so special. You're right. We have an amazingly strong leadership team, headed by President Mantella, Sue Jandernoa, as you mentioned, Beth. We also have 4 other women on our board of trustees. Our senior leadership team is majority women. Our faculty and deans, obviously. So I just think it's a richness of thought and lived experience that really drives our institution forward.
Yeah. How did your role at Meyer prepare you for this?
Yeah, well, I had a fantastic 20-plus years at Meyer. And your audience knows Meyer, hopefully. They shop there all the time. As an amazingly privately held, family-run company, Meyer had the ability to be nimble, to be innovative and entrepreneurial. And so I got to live in an environment, work in an environment, contribute to an environment where we got to try stuff and we got to innovate and we moved fast and we were nimble. And that's exciting. That's an exciting environment to be part of. And that's what's happening at Grand Valley, too. This leadership understands that the landscape is changing, that the needs of our learners are different than they were 20, 30, 40 years ago, that the needs of our employers in our state are different than they were 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. And so this is a fast-moving entrepreneurial team led, again, by a real innovative leader. And so I had a good training ground at Meyer to come to Grand Valley for sure.
Well, and I appreciate, I live a block away from the Bridge Street Market, so I want to thank everybody at Meyer for putting that in, because it sure is convenient, and it's got a lot of people coming in and out all the time. So that kind of innovation is admirable, and it's right here in Lansing as well with our Capital City Market. So I appreciate all of the good work of Meyer and the team that they have there. Talk a little bit about, too, your involvement in the community. I know that you are the chair of the Economic Club of Grand Rapids. You've are currently probably still on the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce board. And so talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, for me, being a part of the community means rolling up your sleeves and doing the work. And that could be in a leadership position. That could just be, serving in a committee or a neighborhood association. But if you really want to see change and evolution within a community, you gotta show up. So I've been grateful to have the opportunity to serve on boards like the Chamber, like Econ Club, like the United Way. I serve on the Grand Rapids Art Museum board as well. And these are just places that I think are important institutions for our community. And, one of my most important mentors in my life, Fred Meyer, told me early in my career that, he expected his leaders to show up for community. And if you're going to show up, you better really show up, lean in, lead the organization, leave it better than you found it. And I took that to heart. He demonstrated that kind of behavior, and so that's the way I tried to demonstrate my leadership, too.
What are some of the greatest leadership lessons that you've learned? And I was going to ask you who's influenced your career, so clearly Fred Meyer. But what are those things that you've learned that I suspect you're probably passing on to other people now, too?
Yeah, well, easier said than done, but, don't sweat the small stuff, right? Peter Secchia used to say, don't major in the minors, and I would remember that, when I was getting down in the weeds on stuff. But, Fred, I think one of the most important things he taught me was to have a curiosity, to have a humility that allowed you to continue to learn through your entire life. I mean, this was a man who, until he was no longer with us, he learned something every day, and he tried to pass it along to others because he thought that, the human condition was constantly changing and he needed to be always learning. So, I think it's just, you've got to stay humble enough to realize you don't know everything, and you should be curious enough to constantly be learning, which is, again, kind of why I'm here at Grand Valley.
I certainly understand. I, too, a big proponent of lifelong learning, and this next career opportunity for you to bring your talents to not only Allendale and downtown Grand Rapids, but Detroit as well, and wherever Grand Valley touches. What do you want to accomplish in the next 5 years?
Oh, boy. I'm approaching, my work here with a huge amount of appreciation. You mentioned Matt and others who have built this institution, created amazing strengths and assets here at Grand Valley. I want to be able to continue to build on that, to grow this institution, to meet the needs of our learners and our community and our businesses. I want to continue to learn and grow myself. And I want to give back. I just want to continue to invest in Grand Rapids, West Michigan, and our state in a way that hopefully makes it, like Fred used to always say, just a little bit better than you found it.
Well, Stacie, I got to tell you, your authenticity comes out so easily, and I can see it. And I would be remiss if I didn't congratulate you on being selected as one of the most powerful business leaders in Michigan by the Grand Rapids Business Journal. I can certainly see why. You bet. A big pat on the back to you. Thanks so much for coming on with me today. I hope that you and I can sit down and have a cup of coffee soon.
I look forward to it. Thanks so much for having me, Kristen.
Absolutely. My guest today is Stacie Behler, Vice President and Chief Public Affairs Officer at Grand Valley State University. I also want to thank my supporting sponsors, Dowding Industries, Governmental Consultant Services, AF Group, Public Affairs Associates, and Mercantile Bank. You can listen to all of my podcasts at connectwithkb.com. Until we connect again, go live your best life. I'm your host, Kristen Belter.